Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bashir Fancy. I am President BIZTEK Professional Association of Canada, or BTPAC. And I will add more into the link at the back to tell you who we're about. But today, we are fortunate, as you can see on the screen, we have Mr. Kamran Baqai, who's going to be talking about the augmented reality, which is very important, play even a bigger role now when we get past COVID. It was already important before, but as we get past, the applications it can have is going to be even that much more. So very quickly, Mr. Kamran Baqai has over 20 years in high tech consulting. He is he's actually the founder and CEO of Digital Logia, which is a company behind Bridge Virtual Reality, right? So the organization has developed this technology, which you will find as we go through, very relevant to what we're going to be talking about shortly. He's had over 20 years in high-tech consulting and even done a lot of delivery management and experience with organizations such as PwC, Oracle, and I have seen it personally firsthand, so I can tell you you'll be impressed as we go through. He's got obviously much bigger background. He's an engineer by profession, but more importantly, rather than take up any of your time, I'm going to let Mr. Baqai take you through, and then he will share a presentation. After we're done with it, we'll get into some questions that were sent to me. So good afternoon, Mr. Baqai. Welcome, and take it away.
Thank you, Bashir. It's a pleasure to be here with you on this webinar. And yeah, as you have mentioned, personally, I've 20 years of experience in the IT industry. Served different clients across multiple industry verticals. And today we are talking about virtual reality, augmented reality, and digital twins in general. And this is one of those areas where the effects of COVID pandemic have sort of fast-tracked a lot of developments and a lot of intake in regards to this kind of a technology. So, digital twins, just, in terms of a high-level overview, these are digital replicas of your physical assets, right? So now that asset could be something as large as a hydropower plant. It could be something as small as specific equipment or machinery. And the idea is to translate that from its physical world into a digital replica. Now, once we have the digital replica of that physical object, then there are lots of opportunities in terms of what you can do with that replica. Right? So today we are talking about Bridge VR, which is our online virtual reality-based collaboration platform. And this platform allows the users to interact with their physical facilities from wherever they are. So it's multi-platform. You can connect from anywhere, and that's something that really is exciting. And also in terms of the current situation that we see, with lots of people being forced to work from home, and they don't have access to their physical facilities, right? So in that context, this kind of a technology becomes even more exciting and interesting. Okay, so let me quickly take you through an introduction of the product. Okay, so today we'll be talking about Bridge VR, which is a virtual collaboration platform that we have been working on for some time. And given the current situation, we sort of had to expedite and look at how quickly we can get it in the hands of the users so that they can experiment with it. They can look at the different features that the product has to offer. So Bridge VR is a virtual collaboration platform, and you can think of it, the experience to the end user would be similar to a multiplayer online game. So you are in this world and you interact with your peers who can be connecting from different locations. They can be connecting from different kinds of devices, be it a PC or a mobile phone. And the idea is to bring them together into one platform where they can work in collaboration with each other. And their work will be, it will feel like they are physically present on the premise of their facility. Now, this facility could be a plant, it could be a factory, it could be their shop floors. The idea is to leverage that into a digital twin and deploy that in a collaborative environment where users are able to interact with each other and also with the facility that they have an interest in. So that's sort of the high-level overview of what Bridge VR is as a product. If you can go further, we will see what you can do in terms of the process. So we have tried to keep this as something that can be deployed quickly and easily. So it's a three-step process from capture to collaborate. So you start off by capturing your physical facility. You collect image data, you collect geographic data, you collect depth data to be able to construct an accurate 3D model. That information goes into an automated web process, which is where we have our platform, the engine that converts all of that information into a 3D replica or a digital twin. And now this twin can then be deployed to a variety of different platforms, for example, PC, mobile, and also the head-mounted devices like HTC Vive, for example. And users can then connect to their physical facility and collaborate using that platform. So from capture to collaborate, it's an automated process which starts with collecting image and depth data of the facility and then ends with the users interacting with that facility in real time. So this is in regards to how can we get the digital twin of a facility up and running and in the hands of the users. Now, what can they do with it? So once you have this platform, you go further, you will see a choice of tools that are available on this platform, and these tools range from visualization, interactivity, to sharing of information. So you can stick a virtual note onto a pump or a machine or a piece of equipment, and that will be your virtual work order or a to-do item. So this allows the users to use this platform to exchange information and to exchange items and actions that they need to do on a particular piece of equipment, in a particular location on their plant or on their manufacturing facility. So if you go further, you will see, and I'll need your help to go to the next screen. Okay.
1 second. The thing got jammed. I'll delete this part. Don't worry. Why was it not? Okay, there we go. 1 second. I'll take myself out again. Okay. So now once you have the digital twin available to you from remote and across any of the devices that I've mentioned, there are a variety of tools that can be used to do different things. So we have, and this is a growing list of tools as we are interacting with a number of customers. We are seeing that there are more and more ways and there are more and more tools that they are interested in. So to begin with, we can look at annotation, and this is like virtual tags, virtual sticky notes that you can attach to the different items or different assets in your facility and exchange information, create work orders, and create to-do items. And also, you can share text comments, you can attach screenshots, you can attach small little video clips to the different assets so that the next person looking at this digital twin can learn from the interaction that you've had. And it's like a recorded session of your interaction with your facility that can then help the next person coming on board to look at the points that you have agreed upon, the list of things to be done, and so on. And then you have tools like measurement. So we have come across scenarios where
you would probably want to engage your procurement, your partner, your supplier. And now with the current situation, they might not be able to be on site to take measurements. Now this tool will allow them to do those measurements, precise measurements from where they are, and they can take those measurements and you can make those planning and operational decisions from without having to visit the site in person. In terms of connectivity, we are looking at different platforms. You're looking at the PC. There's a web-based interface. We are looking at a mobile interface to connect to the application, and we are also talking about the full immersive head-mounted device, where the users, once they put on the device, will be able to get a 360-degree view of the entire facility. So moving further on, there is a variety of use cases here, and as we interact with more and more customers, we are seeing that there is a number of different scenarios that they can use this kind of technology in. To begin with, we are looking at accelerated learning. So now, instead of having to share a number of drawings and a number of different systems, you can actually share your plants or your facilities digital twin, and very quickly bring all these stakeholders on board, and have quick alignment in terms of the topic or the subject that we're talking about. There is the possibility of performing remote analysis. So you can look at your equipment, you can take measurements that I've mentioned, you can produce schematic floor plans. You can even use this as a mini inventory management system, where you can tag all those different assets that you have in your facility, and their key attributes can be visible right on the digital twin. One of the things that we have been looking at is to reduce the amount of injuries, because non-essential, non-intrusive visual surveys can be conducted using digital twins, and in many of those cases now, your surveyors, your operators don't really have to visit or be physically at a particular place, and thereby reducing the number of injuries that might result from those visits. Now, obviously, this does not eliminate all visits. Now, you'll have many scenarios where there will be a visit needed, but we are talking about scenarios where you can take a lot of those decisions, or you can inspect a lot of those items without physically being there on site. And so in a way, it's like a virtual meeting space where you can host and coordinate meetings around your digital twins, and this can be deployed over your own network or even over the internet when we are talking about engaging with parties outside the organization. So the focus here is on increasing the return on investment. The focus here is on reducing the cost when it comes to redesign efforts, and when it comes to the ongoing maintenance activities of the facility. So moving further, and I wish I had a full demo to share with you, but I think in this first interaction, we will focus on what the product and the technology can do, and maybe at some later point in time, we can even go into an actual demo where this product can be shown in action. So here are, for example, a few examples, and you can see that it's hard to tell from the screens that you have in front of you that if you're looking at an actual facility or a digital replica, but these are indeed digital twins. So in this case, for example, we have collected photographic data, we have collected imagery, we have collected depth data, and then put that together into a digital twin. So the facility that you see is not the actual physical image, but it's actually a digital twin or a digital replica of the plant. And then moving on, you will see a few more samples of a different kind of facility. So as I've mentioned, this could be a large hydropower plant. This could be a specific pump or a specific equipment that you are interested in. And you can have digital twins of all of those different things stitched together into a large model that looks at the entire facility, or you can have individual components that can function and you can interact with them on their own. So this was a quick overview of the product, and obviously we have got our website where you can request, and we can put together a demo that can show the product in action, and you can look at all the different tools and uh, the different facilities that the tool offers, and that will be perhaps for a later discussion.
Mr. Kamran, it was actually very interesting presentation, and I have some questions. But just to recap, if I recall correctly, you do a lot of the work for Lufthansa Airlines, for example, right? In Europe, and a few other there. Am I correct? Or
Yeah, so we have worked with large European businesses, ranging from transportation to aviation, and a lot of that work is white labeled as well. So, in some cases we might not be able to disclose the name of the exact customer, but yes, we have had a lot of interest from large European organizations.
so, given that you're doing work in Europe, I guess the one thing we can establish that you are compliant with the GDPR and stuff like that already in EU, correct?
Right. So most of our customers have chosen to go the on-prem route rather than the cloud hosted option, and that's where they have more tighter controls around who can access and what they can see. So, but we are seeing an increased interest in from some businesses who want to sort of leverage a cloud-based offering and subscribe into this service without really having to invest in the infrastructure.
Makes sense. So here's my question. It's very interesting your concept you talked about because you can use it for airlines uh, and so forth. So here's a question that I think, if I understand the concept correctly, um, then we have an interesting situation here. I'll give you some examples, and it's around security at the airport because you are able to take an image, a picture, stitch it together, use your software, and even use artificial intelligence, however people want to use it. But if you're in an airport, for example, and people are supposed to go to a certain area, not be in a certain area, you could actually use this from a security standpoint to turn around and say if somebody was in an area and they're not supposed to be, you could actually program that. Am I correct or am I wrong here?
That's an interesting use case, and we have seen use cases similar to this one where you can have a facility and you can, for example, emergency response planning. First responders when they have to quickly be in a specific location, and you have to find the fastest, the most efficient route to get people from point A to point B. In this case, you can use digital twins because these are precise in terms of measurements, and that's where you can use this to plan the fastest route and move people individually or in mass from different points in your facility.
So even if there were a lot of queuing happening at the airport or transportation or a bus or whatever, you're seeing this image, you could send it to either AI or whatever, and turn around and guide them or alert somebody that you need to now move. There's too many people in this place, it's not secure. Move them to aisle B or whatever, or send more people in, right?
Yes, and a lot of that data collection technology already exists in terms of IoT sensors, in terms of cameras and so on, where you can detect, the number of people. You can detect the, the locations which have sort of become hotspots, right? And you can have all of that information feed into this digital twin, where an AI-based algorithm can route people and staff from wherever they need to be.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. Could this be applied in a retail supermarket type environment? Because you mentioned procurement, almost like a supply chain type situation where same thing could be done in an environment like supermarkets where you turn around and have how the food is put on the aisles and how it's running low, what is selling, what is not selling versus, you know, in other words, you marry it to the data and you find out. I'll tell you the reason I'm asking this. AI is used when I go on the web and search a particular product. Google and other people are able to fire back to me and saying, "Oh, you were looking for this." But what if I was actually physically in a supermarket? I look at a product, I want to buy it, I'm interested, but I pick it up and I look at the price. I don't like the price, so I walk away, right? Google is not there, nor is anybody else, and nor is a manager watching you. However, your technology could actually turn around, if I understand it correctly, to take that image again, feed it in, and saying, you know, we're seeing people come up to this product. Am I correct, or explain? Help me?
Yeah, no, and retail in fact has been one of the early adopters of AR and VR in terms of product activation, and also in planning the store layout. So you're talking about looking at all these different strategies, looking at all the different options to lead the shoppers into where you want them to go, and this is where the advantage of digital twin really comes in handy, because now you don't really have to physically move a lot of those inventory items and try out all these different store layout options physically, which takes time and is costly. In fact, you can do them in your digital twin, so you can play around with all those different settings. You can play around with the different options quickly with the click of your mouse, and try out all those different strategies, and then view that as you would view while you are physically visiting a store.
That's a fantastic. I'll tell you the reason I bring it up is that due to the lockdown of COVID-19 crisis, people are at home, either working from home, some temporary laid off, or whatever the situation. We can see the banks are already spending a lot of money on VPNs and whatever, because they've suddenly realized that we have got people working from home. We don't have to take the cost of physical space and having people commute and losing 2-3 hours of their life. This is working out pretty good. I was talking to some people, so no names, but a lot of the thought process is going that way. I even heard a comment from somebody saying, "Oh, security people are saying that I need to be on site to be able to be successful." And I used to do that myself, and I go, I don't think so. You can do what you can do literally from anywhere, because you are not physically running around. You're looking at a terminal, you're looking at the data that's coming in and out and what is going on. That you can do from anywhere. So I'm sure some people are stuck with the habit, as human beings are. But if I understand correctly what I've heard, and you use some use cases, the only thing that holds us back is the imagination of where we want to use it. Am I correct?
Yes, and I also am of the opinion that even in the post-pandemic world, we will see a lot of people's jobs move to remote, because this pandemic is sort of fast track. In IT, we have been very familiar with working from remote, and because we typically interact with systems. But even otherwise, the pandemic has sort of fast tracked that whole journey of more and more people connecting from from homes, from remote locations, and they are able to still be effective and efficient in terms of their work productivity. So I believe that post pandemic, many organizations will be rethinking about how they staff and how they house their workers in physical locations and offices and so on, and a lot of that can be done as effectively, if not more, remotely. And as you've pointed out, that one of the advantageous side effects of that will be reduction in commute times, and people will be able to spend a lot more quality time with their families without having to really travel for an hour, 2 hour, 3 hours every day to and from work.
Have more healthy lives, because we are not polluting the road, the environment, which is actually absolutely interesting. You get more time with your family. There will be resistance, make no mistake, there will be resistance from people whose probably interests are tied into hardware or whatever that they need to do, which is much better if it's physical. But if you're a bank or you're any large organization, you are wondering, why am I spending money on real estate, expensive real estate? The fully allocated costs are much higher when I can actually help the employees by working from home, a better life, but bring the cost down. Some people have to go to the head offices for whatever, like your branch. But I heard a couple of executives tell me something very interesting, which I will share here. He said, we couldn't have trained people. We could have tried very hard, and it might not have actually worked as well as what is happening now. Because what is happening really is the fact that people are getting trained because they have no choice. And we are creatures of habit. You start doing something for 3 weeks and 4 weeks and 2 months, and suddenly you realize that, why am I doing it the other way? Like, people can deposit checks and so forth from their phones, and they're doing it. So
Yeah.
you're right. Some is not going to go back. But I think what is now needed, when you look at augmented reality and the technology that you just kind of presented at a high level, I am fortunate that I've seen what it does, and therefore I'm impressed with what the capabilities are. Is really the thinking. If their people are truly innovation, when it kicks in, you have to. There is a need right now, no question about it, and you have an important part to play in this in many different ways. So the only issue is really, how do you think outside the box and say, okay, I'm going to make it work. It's going to be different, but it's going to be more effective, produce better results, even produce better security when it's done properly, and not run into this thing where somebody says, no, 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 I got to be in the office to be able to make it more secure. I mean, I won't even comment on that, because I did. I had the responsibility for Visa, and one thing that I don't buy into is that at all.
Absolutely. There are lots of roles and lots of job functions that will never be done effectively remotely, right? So this is not a one-size-fits-all solution. You
No.
have many cases, many industries, many job functions that still have that very hands-on, on-site component. But what this pandemic has done is sort of opened up the possibilities of many other workers who were traditionally working from their offices, and now suddenly they have realized, and their employers have realized, that these people can also work effectively, as effectively when they are remote. So I think there had been a movement towards working from home, working from remote, and we are not just talking about scenarios in pandemics like what we are going through now. In fact, you can have your full-time employees that are traveling, right? And they need to access from different locations. And you can have many of those sort of relationships where you have a consultant or an advisor who is is high in demand, and you want to benefit from their expertise while they don't really want to travel for a number of hours to be physically on your site. So many scenarios where this kind of a remote collaboration platform will be useful. But as you've mentioned, this does not really, it's not a solution. It's not an idea that will apply across the board to all kinds of people and all kinds of functions.
I think this is actually, you're absolutely correct. We've talked about at a high level, you presented what it can do. The key is going to be, I strongly believe that each company needs to take steps back. Some are doing already. Take a step back to understand their business, their needs going forward, not yesterday, new needs. I've heard some people talk about when we go back to normal, and what normal? We are going to be moving to a new normal. There are a lot, right? A lot of things will change. They're not going to be like the way we were. We're going to be in a different world altogether. And those who get into denial are asking for trouble. You have to look at your own needs first. What are your needs? So what you're addressing. So if I was to take your presentation and put it together, I would try and say each business needs to take a step back, understand what their needs are, what they have today, what they need now going forward tomorrow, in a new world where a lot of people will work from home. It is what is going to happen. If they don't, and they want to take big costs, little guy is going to come and take their business away, and they don't need to do that. So then you're seeing, even in the grocery, things are changing. People are buying online and getting deliveries or picking up. A lot of that will actually change to even go more in that direction. But for business, whether you're banks, manufacturing, your technology can play a significant role in all that. So if I was to convey a message from my side, and I think what you're saying is for each business, take a step back, look at it, but they need to see your entire demo, right? To see how your technology can help them. Like you said, it'll not help every single one, but it can help a lot of people as long as they're willing to take a step back and saying, okay, we're going to do things different, because this actually marries a lot of different things. It marries the augmented reality you were talking about, the data kicks in, the environment kicks in, the artificial intelligence kicks in, the cloud that you talked about, you go to cloud. And actually, the way I looked at it when I put it on paper, just to flowchart and seeing what is happening, you can actually have even improved security, because you can find out in an instance what is going on. You can get to the root causes, like you showed some of the pictures. I think it's pretty impressive in what the potential is. And you already done for a few things, so it's not like a pie in the sky. You already done it for transportation industry. We know you done it in the energy business. In fact, you were personally involved with the conversion of one of the big energy companies here in Canada, in Ontario, in fact, right?
Yeah, and so as you've mentioned, once this kind of digital twin technology is available, we will see lots and lots of new use cases coming in. As business are going through this crisis, they are learning, and we are learning with them a lot of these different new avenues, a new set of use cases where previously some job functions, some operations were not even imagined to be done remotely, but now we see that there is potential, and those kind of use cases can also be deployed, and people can work through these remote technologies.
So through this, I think to all of our members, viewers, people who are watching this video, obviously will have a lot of questions, because this is a very high level presentation. You have Kamran Baqai's email address, you have ours. Reach out to either, and we will get Mr. Baqai again to actually specifically talk about a particular sector, industry, or more importantly, he can even do a thing directly for you guys, because you may not want to discuss your personal organizational stuff out in public. That's fair enough, totally understandable. So you can set it up so that he can talk to you about what can be done. You don't know that till you look at it and examine, can this provide you solutions? So I want to thank Mr. Baqai tremendously from BTPAC for the fact that you've done that. Even if it's high level, you put it on the table, and now it's for people to ask questions and drill down on their specific needs. And you can even ask questions, and I'm sure he'll be very happy to answer them for you and then take it forward. So, Kamran Baqai, thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate that. High level, but still pretty good.
Thank you, Bashir, Fancy, and this has been a great opportunity to interact with your audience, and we look forward to having many more